Welcome back to the BG. We finally pulled the trigger on the Crossfire Pro setup. Hey, we got a lot of steps before we get there, but let me walk you through where we're at. So what the final game will be is this right here block will be mounted to a piece of steel that comes through the wall. And this right here will be our entry point, and then it'll come into probably a couple of plugs to leave this block here to move into our ball valve. So that way we can turn the air on and off completely from the shop itself. So once we leave this port here, we'll be coming into the 4-stage separator, and you can get this in a 3 or 4. So this right here is your water separator. Then you've got a filter, and then you move into 2 dryer systems for the beads here. Now you've got a sight glass for servicing it, you've got a regulator built on it, and you've also got the gauge on that. So a 4-stage setup here, that should keep the overall shop air pretty clean and dry. Now, once we leave this separator, I've got it coming through another block, and this right here will actually go up to the air reel that's coming from Vevor that's now mounted up on the shelving here, the shop rail. So once it goes into that, that's what I'll primarily be using around the shop and close by. But I wanted to have that separate from the plasma table and the cutters. So once it comes out of this block, now it's going to come down to another block that then we have a way that we can separate and loop the shop. So once it comes out of this port, it'll then go through the shop in these little sections here using Tailonz pneumatic air tubing. This is the 1/2 inch 100-foot roll. So this will actually go through the shop, drop off to a few blocks, then we can put a few more 1/4 inch fittings. But my goal is to loop that so it drops right back into this, so that's a continuous loop. That way it maximizes the airflow in this. But I've got a gauge here that I'll set up for the shop air loop in addition to what's coming in to the garage. So once it leaves all these different departments here, I want to make sure that I still have enough air in the shop. So that gets us to the shop air. Now here we'll actually come off and we'll go into this one here to another block. Now from this block here, we'll be able to use a ball valve to shut the air completely off. That'll go to that separator that's going to go to the ARCCAPTAIN Cut 55. That'll be dedicated for the plasma table. So that'll be stationary on the table doing most of the work. So we're talking a 1/2 inch clean cut up to 3/4 of a max cut. So the ARCCAPTAIN Cut 55 is pretty solid for what we'll be cutting on the table. Now, coming from that same block there, it'll then also, remember this one right here is going to be leaving, coming in to the block. Now the other side of the block will be coming out with another shutoff valve that will use that block that comes up to the Yeswelder Cut 55. This is the one that I'll move around on a cart that I have a lot more flexibility with, and those will be coming basically from this block to 2 different plasma cutters. Now from that point here, we've got this port. Again, it's going to come as the main feed coming in, going to the shop air, coming out of that, going to the block. This is going to separate to the 2 plasma cutters, one being the plasma table. So we'll have this filter here that will be dedicated for this one, as well as a separator, separator filter on both. But this right here will have its dedicated one coming directly off of this. So that's going to be a lot of plumbing. So first step is going to get a 1/4 inch plate mounted across here that we can set all of this Tailonz setup right here, and then exit to go to our shop air reel, as well as to the shop air to our plumbing coming from Tailonz. So super stoked on this right here. And what I like about Tailonz kit, this right here is a separator. That's one setup. And then you got the tubing kit, that's another. But they're both going to be in the link down below. But they pretty much have everything that you need as far as the fittings and the tees. They've got the tape, the cutters, these are nails and little brackets here that you can mount to the wooden wall. So that's what I like about what they have is, as far as their kit, they've got everything that you need right there in the kit. So pretty sweet setup there. But what I'd like to do is add a link down below for each of these items. That way, if you want to find more details on them, you'll be able to find them in that link. But at the same time, this will be a multi-part setup here. So if you want to follow back along, tag this, put it in your favorites, think about it, and we'll, make progress as time goes on. So we'll get all this mounted onto the rails here. Once we've got that mounted, Then we'll break into the Crossfire to get that set up in this area here. And then we'll cage it and block it all in and put our exhaust fan going out. Make sure that we bring our electric in if we're using the 12 gauge or if we jump up to the 220 if we're shooting for something thicker. But these items will be in the link down below. Your ARCCAPTAIN Cut 55, your Yes Welder Cut 65, the Tailonz Separator, the Tailonz Tubing kit, and then if you want to find more on the Crossfire Pro or the just the standard Crossfire, that'll be in the Amazon cart, which you can also find these items in Amazon also. So thanks for tuning in, and I'm excited to get back on this right here. So we just got some plumbing to do, and it's cold, so got to be very cautious with this. But I think the critical key in this is to make sure that it loops. So once it leaves the separator and goes through the shop, we need to make sure that it loops back into our valve here. So that way it's just a continuous airflow loop here. Super excited to know where this right here is going to take us. Stay tuned, guys. Thanks for following along, and check the sales and the different items down the cart down right here on the bottom left here.